What's up, everybody? I'm Paris, and this is Keep It Social, and it's time for Hot Takes. Today, we're talking about everything from Ellen's comeback to Deion Sanders' new coaching job and registering to vote. And you know who's with me to do that today? My co-host Terrence and our good friend Marisa. How's it going, y'all?
I'm good. How is everyone?
Good.
Thanks for having me. Happy to see you guys again.
Thanks for being with us. So, Marisa, let's do your take first.
Sure. I wanted today to talk about Tuesday, which was National Register to Vote Day, because so many celebrities were getting involved. Instagram had their own campaign to, provide registration information. We're going to get a West Wing reunion just to get people to vote.
What?
Yeah, which is incredible. But I'm also a little bit saddened, confused by this effort. Obviously, like 100 million people who were eligible didn't vote in 2016, which is horrible. So we need to get people to vote, but we also need to get people to the polls, which is different than getting them registered to vote. Right. Because there's so much voter intimidation and suppression going on, particularly this year with the issue of mail-in votes. And because of the coronavirus, I feel like it's just not enough to get people to register. We need to get people information to encourage them to feel empowered to take part in politics. And I obviously understand it's a very intimidating process. Maybe Taylor Swift asking people to register is the push some people need, even though I think that's kind of crazy that with everything going on.
Hey guys, it's National Voter Registration Day today. The election is November 3rd. It's really coming up, and I've put together a swipe up of resources. You can register if you're a first-time voter. You can check your registration. You can request an absentee ballot. You can figure out the process of voting early. We need everyone, and it is more important than I can even possibly say.
Two things there. One is what you're saying reminds me of that Tyra Banks meme where it's like a snapshot of her from America's Next Top Model, and she's like, register to vote, but show up to the polls. So like, we need you to do this. And then secondly, you mentioned Taylor Swift, and she posted that whole thing about registering to vote, but people were like, oh, what do you mean for the AMAs or the VMAs? Like,
right. We need information. Like, there's an election coming up. I don't know if anyone's heard.
Right. I also think with that too, though, I think we have to acknowledge that some people just don't want to vote, right? We've seen previously where we have had candidates who won the popular vote who didn't win the presidency or who haven't won office, right? And so a lot of people just don't believe in our system as it is, right? And so I think that's the difficult part, is wrapping our minds around the fact that some people just don't believe in the process. And so, like, how do we balance that, right? Like, how do we rectify that? How do we bring those people in as well? And I'm still trying to figure that one out myself, but that's, that's another piece of the conversation too.
Well, it's a continuing conversation, Terrence, and we're going to keep our eyes on it leading up to the election. Let's roll on to your take next.
Well, my take is about Mr. Deion Primetime Sanders. He has been named the new head coach at Jackson State University, which is in Mississippi, my home state. And everyone is excited about this, right?
When I was getting this suit made several weeks ago, I told him I just don't want the patch on the outside. I want you to have the inside.
Jackson State is a part of the SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference. It's an HBCU. It's in Mississippi, right? Deion Sanders is a Hall of Famer. He's played in the NFL. Like, he has some notoriety. And what I'm most excited about is that, someone of his caliber saw the value in not only in that institution, but in the athletes there, right? It's no secret that Jackson State University is a premier institution with premier students, with premier athletics, right? But to have someone of that caliber come in and bring that notoriety, people are going to start showing up more for games. They're going to want to invest more in the city, invest more in the institution, invest more in the students, and invest more in the state. And I think that's what I'm so excited about. Him bringing all of those good eyeballs to our state and really, charging people to see value in the things that we already know are valuable. You know what I mean?
And I mean, what you're saying, Terrence, is really highlighting the fact that he went to an HBCU. He took a coaching job at an HBCU. And, you know, we always hear these conversations about so many of the great athletes we see go on to be in the NBA, NFL, et cetera, they're Black, right? And we have a lot of great Black athletes at HBCU, so we want to be shining light in these places. And it is great to see someone who's as great as Deion Sanders kind of go back and get into that part of the sports community.
Paris, I really agree with you. It also reminds me, you know, when Beyonce put out Homecoming, obviously that whole beautiful production was dedicated to HBCUs. And for someone like me, who's from the Northeast and is obviously like a very white person who didn't grow up with that culture, it's wonderful to see national attention bringing my focus to it. And it's wonderful. And I think that's very well deserved. And I'm excited to see what happens.
Absolutely. Well, for my take, it's also about some national attention being focused somewhere, but this time it was on Ellen DeGeneres, our favorite friend, everyone's favorite.
Right.
So Ellen made her comeback for her new season of her show this week, and she did so by posting this video.
As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show, and then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected. I know that I'm in a position of privilege and power, and I realize that with that comes responsibility, and I take responsibility for what happens at my show. This is the Ellen DeGeneres Show. I am Ellen DeGeneres. My name is there. My name is there. My name is on underwear. We have had a lot of conversations over the last few weeks about the show, our workplace, and what we want for the future. We have made the necessary changes, and today we are starting a new chapter.
So on the one hand, people were like, okay, Ellen, we see you, like, come on back. And on the other hand, people were like, oh my God, she's just talking about how privileged she is, and this is not landing well. We don't accept your apology. You're still canceled. So I'm wondering which side of this you fall on.
I feel like the apology is not for me to judge because it wasn't to me. A lot of her apology was focused on the fact that, like, even though she has this be kind, nicest woman in the world persona, she actually is just a person who has regular emotions and feelings all over the spectrum, which is like fine, but it's like, no, Ellen, you were accused of like workplace harassment and 3 of your producers had to leave because they harassed employees. There's a toxic work environment. The culture starts at the top, anywhere you work. If she's going to act a certain way, everyone else is. So if that really changes, I really hope it does. But I can't, that's again, not for me. The apology wasn't to me. It's not to us.
I kind of agree with that, right? I'm like 75% there. And then the other 25% of me is like, yeah, it's to the employees, but it is also to us, right? Because many people have invested a lot of their time and energy in the idea of who Ellen is, right? They've supported her for years based on, you know, be good, be nice, this whole persona that she's perpetuated throughout her career, right? So a part of me is like, yeah, it's to the employees, but it's also to your viewers, to your community, because to an extent, you've deceived them. You've deceived them to an extent, right? So I think it also needs to resonate on the other side of the screen. And for me, I just wish that it was just a little more serious, you know, because for me, when someone apologizes to me, I don't need the jokes. You know what I mean? I just want an honest, sincere apology, you know, and let me do with that what I will, but I don't necessarily need the jokes, right? Because if you're apologizing, it's obviously not for something super funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's my take.
Absolutely. I hear you there, Terrence. And me, I mean, y'all know me. I'm coming down on the middle. I'm not really a huge fan of cancel culture, but I'm also with you. I'm like, all this time that you kind of went dark and silent, nobody knew what was happening with the Ellen show. And then all of a sudden you're starting your new season and like, oh, by the way, I'm sorry.
Yeah, guess what? It was like her highest episode
there.
in years. Her highest rated episode in years. So many people turned in to see that apology. What if she had just done it on Instagram, where she wouldn't have gotten a payday out of it or something like that?
Well, that's a great question. We'll have to answer it on the next season of Keep It Social, because this is the last episode of Hot Takes for this season. Sad. We are so sad. But Marisa, it's been so great to have you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
And for all of you watching, thanks so much for doing that. Don't forget to register to vote and to like, comment, and subscribe to all our social channels. We'll see you next time. And until then, Terrence, Marisa, what should they do?
Keep it social. Bye, friends.